Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Game Master and welcome to my channel. Sorry this is a few days late. I'm pretty sure most people who actually were keen on reviewing this movie watched it during the weekend. I only just saw it tonight. But I do want to talk about the Justice League movie since I talked about Wonder Woman and I talked about Batman vs. Superman, and kind of say this: it's better than Batman vs. Superman, nowhere near as good as Wonder Woman, and more importantly, and I hate to compare it to the Marvel Universe because DC fans get a little butthurt when you compare their movies to the Marvel Universe because, well, Marvel usually kicks their butts. In fact, Thor Ragnarok is playing at my theater right next to Justice League, and I have a feeling Thor's probably still outselling the Justice League just because I had fun at Thor. I didn't have much fun with this movie. I'm not saying it's bad. It's certainly not as dull as Batman v Superman. They got a few things right. The characters are now a little bit more set up, a little more developed. Not as well as developed as they should be, because out of the whole cast, only Superman and Wonder Woman have had their own movies. I love Ben Affleck's Batman, and I love what they try to do with him, but he really should have had his own movie before this, so we can understand this character, because he is such a different Batman from the last Christian Bale one. Definitely quite a bit different than even the Tim Burton one. Probably a little bit more to what I would see in a more authentic comic book adaptation of the character. He's also a lot older than a lot of the other Batmans portrayed in movies, being, mid-40s to early 50s. He's been doing this for 20 years, he says in the movie, so that really gives you an idea that this isn't a young, idealistic Batman, but rather an old, grizzled one who is very, very cynical in nature. But anyways, the movie basically opens up with the fact that some sort of new monster has approached, and he's from Apocalypse, and it's not Darkseid. Why they didn't just use Darkseid, other than I'm pretty sure they're trying to save him for another movie, because he's the big bad in the DC universe, so a lot like Thanos, I guess they will try to build up to him. But the guy they use, oh god, the villain in this movie is terrible. He looks like he's a bad knockoff of a video game. That's exactly what he looks like. He looks like he's from a video game. So, you got that, and because he looks so terrible, it's hard to take him as a serious threat, and demon hordes are also a serious threat, and they built this up during Batman vs. Superman, and the payoff is kind of really small when it comes to him being as the villain. He basically wants to collect these 3 cubes, which he finds for the most part easy, at least the first 2. Last one's a little hard, but once they use it to resurrect Superman, yeah, plot spoiler that if you didn't see coming, then you obviously are completely clueless, because that was like the least interesting plot twist, and I'll get that in there in a minute. But anyways, since he's back, he's killed the Amazons, got their cube, attacked Atlanta, got their cubes. All these superheroes are kind of answering Batman's call to form this Justice League. And the characters themselves are actually interesting. That's the nice thing. Batman vs. Superman, you could definitely say one of the problems of that movie is there's no real difference between Batman and Superman in this DC universe, at least the way it was started. They're both dark and brooding characters. So why are they fighting each other, Batman and Superman fight because they're different characters. Here they're all different characters. They're not quite as fun to watch as the Avengers, I'll have to get that out, but there's some pretty interesting chemistry going on, and they're fun to watch. Wonder Woman, who's no longer this naive idealist, is trying to get out back into the world as a superhero after what happened to her with the Battle of Hades, and figuring out that part after 100 years, how to exactly adjust to society as a superhero again when this all happens. And I can say that Gal Gadot's and Ben Affleck's way they have chemistry, the way they respond, if they do give Wonder Woman and Batman some sort of romantic storyline in the future, they have a great setup for it because it's really good chemistry. They don't make googly eyes at each other. They don't go off hating each other. But at the same time, they're not always singing kumbaya. They have conflict in it. Some really good conflict. When Wonder Woman is criticizing Batman's guilt for being partially responsible for Superman's death, Batman's response to her is pretty epic. And, the fight that, just starts and he gets, beat up by her and everyone says he deserves it and he does. But, that response, is really fitting to the character and the relationship that the two have. So, it's pretty good. The two new characters, again, introduced with no movies, given very little introduction. They kind of briefly cameoed during Batman v Superman, but not enough to, actually get to know them, are pretty good. You have the Flash, who is kind of seen as this very introverted, but nonetheless very hyperactive geek. He's somewhat antisocial. I mean, he's not like mean antisocial, but he doesn't understand social norms type person, which is a little bit different than some of the Flashes we've seen in the cartoons, where he's, really flirtatious or really big on women and all that. Here, not really. When he sees Wonder Woman and stuff, he doesn't know quite what to do. I said two, I should say three. Aquaman's a little forgettable. He does have a few good lines in there. Something tells me that Josh Whedon, when he came in to help with the project to make sure that this wouldn't go down as big a bomb as Batman v Superman, added a little bit of humor. He had some really good one-liners. He's not all dark and serious like I saw in the Justice League cartoon. He's bit of a biker hipster would be a good way to kind of describe him, who wants to think he's a warrior. There's a really, really great gag where he tries to motivate the cast, like, this is a good day to die, you're all, have your good attributes, and he accidentally sits on Wonder Woman's lasso of truth and it starts changing his tune midway through it, and that's pretty hilarious. So I liked him, even if he's a bit forgettable. Cyborg, that one, I recognize him, just a person my age, as someone from the Teen Titans and not really Justice League member, but one of the things they don't show him in the classic Teen Titan cartoon from the early aughts is his struggle to really maintain his character, because, getting all this computerized stuff on him, becoming this super intelligent computer, it kind of conflicts with his humanity, and he's just trying to figure out who he is, or even if he's a good guy, and just process all that's going on. And again, interesting character. The problems have always come from the plot, and the plot is hit and miss. And the biggest miss comes from the pacing, and the biggest problem with the pacing is how they bring Superman back, because it happens in the middle of the movie and it completely stops the plot. Your plot is you're supposed to go after this apocalyptic bad guy who's so forgettable that I don't even remember his name after seeing the movie, who's completely bad CGI, and you're supposed to stop him and the Parademons. But you stop that right in the middle of a freaking movie, so you can go and revive Superman. And they revive Superman by taking him into Zod's ship and using one of the cubes, the only cube they have, to revive him. And of course, because of that, the cube becomes active and returns to the villain, but it does work in reviving him. Only problem is Superman begins with his memory Swiss cheesed. He can't control his powers, which was one of the things I did like about the Man of Steel, was the idea that, Superman's powers, unless he can really concentrate and control them, bring him pain because they're always on. So he has to really concentrate. It's not something easy for him to do. So, he just wakes up and he can't really control, and he only has vague memories of Batman kind of sparring against him and causing him problems. There are some great lines in Batman and Superman's tussle, kind of playing off some of the really bad lines from Batman v Superman. The "Do you bleed" line is parodied here to really great effect. Batman's line that he says after Superman thrashes him is, I thought, was hilarious, because you don't expect that kind of line from Batman, but that was pretty hilarious. But the way they try to bring him back to his senses is to get him together with Lois Lane. And while Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot have great chemistry together, and I'd love to see a romantic relationship between those two characters someday spring up, because they have that chemistry and they're very interesting to watch together, Superman and Lois Lane in this DC universe are boring. There is no chemistry between these two. The romantic writing is stupid. Let's see here. One of the lines was, "You smell good," and he's like, "I didn't smell good before." And it's like, that's almost as dumb as the Martha line in Batman v Superman. Not quite as dumb, because I can see the point to it, and it's not quite as dumb as having a Batman that's going to kill someone be stopped because they share the same, their mother shared the same name. That was extremely stupid. But it's cheesy, and it just doesn't work. They have no chemistry together. The good news is once Superman gets back in the field and fighting, and yes, once he gets fighting the bad guy crumbles, because, well, it's freaking Superman. I do enjoy what they're doing. He seems to have kind of reverted to a Superman character. There's a definite difference between Superman over here and Batman over here. And one of the things they do is that Superman's color's a little bit brighter now. So he's definitely got more neon color, more like what you would expect from a Superman character. And he's the optimist of the group. He's the "I can do it" type person of the group. There's no brooding, there's no "who am I." He's here to kick ass and stop the supervillain. That's what you need from Superman. And and some of his lines with the Flash, especially in the after credit scenes, there's two of them, are really good. And speaking about after credit scene, there's the one involving Flash and Superman racing, which is an iconic comic. We never ever see who would actually win in that, but it's something DC likes to bring up from time to time in the various cartoon shows I've seen, and I've definitely heard, it happens in the comics that they race, but no one is ever told who the winner is. But after that, if you wait to the very end, we see Lex Luthor again. And my thought is, as a person my age, growing up in the 90s, 80s and 90s, Superman's Lex Luthor is Clancy Brown. He's a little bit too old probably to play the character on the screen now, but that's who Lex Luthor is. I mean, he's someone with a deep voice. He's in his late 30s, mid 40s, spectacular build. He's not the freaking clown they have here, and he's still a freaking clown in this, and we find out he's trying to build his own Legion of Doom, and it's stupid. Overall, I found this film pretty decent on most part. There's some good one-liners, and the characters were good, but the plot and pacing are all over the place. This is not an easy to go in and just have fun as the Avengers. There are some fun parts, but it's not great. Some people are saying, Justice League definitely doesn't deserve the 3 out of 10. I agree with that. 4 or 5 out of 10 would probably be what I would give it. This is a Redbox rental, folks. This isn't a go see it on the theater, but it is worth a Redbox rental. It is worth seeing. Just don't pay full price to see it. Anyways, this is Tommy the Game Master, thanking you for listening to this very long-winded rant, and I'll see you guys later.